Welcome to the webinar. I'm Bana Alshagai, an NSCC EAL support specialist, and this webinar will focus on language for interviews. At the end of the webinar, I will also provide you with additional NSCC resources you can use to prepare for a successful interview. Our objectives for today's session: explore types of interview questions, describe information employers are looking for, discuss asking for clarification, explain common interview language, and review tips for English language learners. Take a moment to reflect on your previous interview experiences. Have you had any interviews before? How did you feel during and after the interviews? Interviews can take a lot of time and preparation. The best way to feel comfortable and confident in an interview is to prepare and practice in advance. It is also important to ensure that the language we use has the intended effect and matches with the message we want to deliver. Along with different types of interviews, there are also different types of interview questions. Some of the most common types of interview questions are behavioral questions, where an employer would like to learn more about how you would behave in a particular situation. These questions usually start off like, "Tell me about a time when." Another type of common interview question: character type questions. Character type questions are where an employer wants to know more about your personality and values. These questions usually provide you with a situation or obstacle and ask how you would handle it. Both of these questions are considered open-ended questions, which means they cannot be answered with a simple yes or no. On the next slide, we will discuss some strategies you can use to provide a solid answer. When answering open-ended questions like behavioral and character type questions, you can use the STAR technique. The S stands for situation. Describe the event or situation that you were in. T stands for task. Explain the task you had to complete. A stands for action. Describe the actions you took to complete the task. And R stands for result. Close with the result of your efforts. By following this technique, you can make sure that you provide a complete answer. When preparing for interviews, it's also important to consider why an employer is asking a particular question, so you can prepare your answers. Typically, employers want to know about your personality, why you left your previous job, your salary expectations, your qualifications, work history, management and teamwork style, your future plans or goals. If you don't understand the question being asked in an interview, it's okay to ask for clarification. Some ways you can do that are, "I didn't catch that. Could you repeat the question?" Another way you can do that is you can say, "Can you tell me a bit more about what you mean by that?" And finally, you could say, "So, you would like to know about," and give an example of what you were talking about, and then say, "Is that correct?" That allows the employer to either say, "Yes, that's what I mean," or they can say, "No, that's not what I mean," and provide you with further clarification. We will review the language used in some common interview questions. Some EAL learners find interviews challenging because they're not familiar with the vocabulary used. It is important to take some time and familiarize yourself with the language for interviews, and to ask yourself, what does the employer want to know about me when they ask a particular question? Remember, the focus of this webinar is language. Please reach out to your student service advisor for more career-related supports. Please keep in mind that the following slides include information that should be used as a guideline. Do not attempt to memorize and recite them during an interview. Your answers need to be unique and tailored to the employer and your experience. Question 1. Tell me about yourself. This is a common interview question and is similar to an elevator pitch. For more information about developing an elevator pitch, check out the recorded webinar in the Libraries and Learning Commons YouTube channel. Briefly, this is a question employers often ask to get the interview started, and you should have some points prepared in advance. The reason that employers ask this question is to see if you are a good fit for the job and if you have the right qualifications. The employer also wants to know more about your personality to see if you would fit in with the existing team. A good way to prepare for this question is to review some adjectives that you can use to describe yourself. For example, are you organized? Are you task-oriented? Are you a collaborative team player? Be prepared to provide examples and not just a list of adjectives. Many people underestimate this question and don't prepare for it, but when you are on the spot and asked to talk about yourself, it is not as easy as it seems. Question 2. Why are you interested in working for this company? This is a similar question to the one on the previous slide. When an employer asks why you are interested in working for their company, they want to know what you know about them and if you have the same values. They want to know if you fit in. Fit in is a phrasal verb and means to be compatible with a group, to be able to join and/or work in a group easily. Avoid answers such as, "It's a great company and I would love to work here," or "I heard there were some open positions, so I thought I would apply." Instead, take some time to research about the company and learn more about them. Look up any vocabulary that you are not familiar with. When answering this question, refer to things you found out about the company. Question 3. How do you handle pressure? When an employer asks how do you handle pressure, they are interested in seeing how you handle difficult situations. Usually, people who can handle high-pressure situations are also great at making quick decisions, have above-average organizational and time management skills, and are excellent problem solvers. Remember to use some of the positive self-describing adjectives you identified in question 1. For example, I'm a very organized and detail-oriented person. I prioritize the most important task and create a schedule. Try to include an example with details of a situation where you had to work under pressure and how you handled it. When employers ask you to tell them about a time you made a mistake, you should avoid answers like, "I never make a mistake," or "I can't remember a time when I made a mistake." Everyone makes mistakes, and that is normal. The employer is interested in seeing how you handled the situation and if you are a self-aware person who can learn from their mistakes. A sample response could be, "I missed a huge deadline for an important report by 1 day. My manager was upset because many things were dependent on this report. I learned a valuable lesson from missing this deadline. I'm always attentive to deadlines and double check with my coworkers." Question 5. What are your salary expectations? Some jobs are advertised without a salary, and an employer might ask you what your salary expectations or requirements are. If you are willing to negotiate, you can say, "My salary is flexible and I'm open to negotiating." You can research other similar jobs in the field to get an idea of an average salary and say, "With my skills, I would expect to receive something in the range of Y to Z," for example. Question 6. When can you start? A common question towards the end of an interview is, if you are the successful candidate, which means if you are chosen for the job, when can you start? In this question, the employer wants to know that if you are chosen, when can you start working? If you are not currently working and would like to start right away, you can say so. If you are currently working, it is considered respectful in Canada to give your employer notice. Sometimes the length of time you need to give is also outlined in your contract or collective agreement if you are part of a union. The amount of notice would depend on your workplace. Question 7. What questions do you have for us? Also, at the end of interviews, it is usual for the employer to ask the interviewee if they have any questions. It is recommended that you ask 2 to 3 questions, as this shows that you have interest in the position and that you researched and prepared for the interview. This is also your opportunity to discover if this job is a good fit for you. Avoid saying, "No, you've answered everything, thanks," or "I can't think of anything now." If you really cannot think of any questions, or if your questions were answered throughout the interview, you can say, "I did have some questions, but you have already answered them for me throughout the interview." An example question, if you read about professional development on the company's website, you could say, "I saw on your website that you provide a lot of professional development for your employees. Can you describe the available opportunities for someone in this position?" In Canada, employers are not allowed to ask you about race, age, religion, color, place of birth, disability, marital status, which means if you are married or single, and if you have any children. If an employer asks you these questions during an interview, you can say, "I don't feel comfortable answering this question," or "Could you please explain to me how this relates to the position or my ability to perform the required duties?" Many English language learners worry about their accent or pronunciation during an interview. Remember that an employer is interested in hearing about your skills and achievements. Focus on clarity and being understood. If you have trouble pronouncing a particular word, book an appointment with an EAL support specialist for practice. If you still have trouble pronouncing a particular word, then find an alternate word. Using large, complicated words does not make you sound more intelligent or more professional. Choose words that you are comfortable saying. There are many available resources for NSCC students. Please take some time to explore them. Visit the NSCC EAL page to view the schedules for upcoming EAL webinars or book an appointment with an EAL support specialist. Visit the EAL guide for numerous resources to help you with your language learning. Use NSCC's writing guide for tips, advice, and information for all your writing needs.